What's good, Super Gang? It's your host, your boy, So. And yes, we're back with another video, y'all. Could Batman take down Spider-Man? Now, my head hurts when thinking about this question because I don't know, right? I think about all the good things that Batman could do and all the good things that Spider-Man could do. And I'm like, okay, they're both smart. They're both geniuses. They're both geniuses, right? One has a lot more money than the other, so he has a lot of access to stuff that Spider-Man does not. But Peter has a lot. He has access to Tony Stark, so that kind of covers it up. So it's like, in the head-to-head, Death Battle declared that, hey, well, Tony Stark can, beat Batman. The strongest version of Batman at that. With the strongest version of Tony Stark. So it's like, this is hard. So can Batman actually beat Spider-Man if he knows nothing about them? Because it's like, that's people's MO. Like, oh, give Batman prep time, and then he easily beats anybody. Well, what happens if he doesn't have prep time? What's going to happen? Oh, well, he loses. So it's like, I don't know. I'm about to see what Seth has to say about that. Let's check it out.
As someone who had recently seen the Batman movies and just got done watching Spider-Man No Way Home, a thought occurred to me that maybe, just as me, but I immediately started imagining who would actually win between them in a fight. Maybe that's because thinking of fights is my job. Anyway, one thought people may have had initially, and even when I brought this up to friends, is that it is no debate. Surely Batman gets stomped with...
Oh, okay, so Batman gets stomped. And, okay, I didn't know because it's like, oh, well, prep time. That's all I'm thinking about is, prep time. Because that's what people kept saying in the comment section. Oh, prep time. I'm not going to listen to y'all. I'm going to actually just do my own research. So my initial thoughts was, I don't know. But we about to, have a second opinion on it.
Zero difficulty. He's just a normal human and Spider-Man isn't, right? Well, not exactly. This debate actually gets pretty interesting, and I hope after I explain everything...
But it's like, which Spider-Man, which Batman are we going to use? Like, that's always another argument. It's like, another debate. Which Spider-Man, which Batman are we going to use? It wouldn't be fair if we used the weakest versus the strongest version of each character, would it? It wouldn't be. Hold on, let's get my snacks. Has a lot more resources, but as far as the show, I don't know. I don't think he's a better Spider-Man than Toby. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I might sound crazy, but I feel like he isn't. Nostalgia and whatnot, but I feel like he has more resources. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Let's go with that.
At that point, any feat performed or piece of equipment used by any of the three Spider-Men should be valid to use in the fight. This may seem like a cop-out to some people who want to know who I think is the strongest of the three Spider-Men. And at the end of the day, it's Spider-Man versus Batman. Also, the debate doesn't really change the outcome, so it's kind of a waste of time. Maybe in the future I can explain who I think is the strongest. Batman is a weird character in the sense that he can be seen fighting alongside the godlike members of his own team, with him having to showcase some insane feats just out of the sake of convenience. For example, Superman is obviously insanely fast, but he can then be tagged by his opponents, and for Batman to remain relevant at all to the plot around him, he too would have to have insanely superhuman levels of speed, or else he'd get blitzed and splattered.
I mean, yeah, but it don't, here's the thing, right? It doesn't look like he has any of that, though. It doesn't look like he has super strength, like he has relative speed. He doesn't look like he has none of that. You just showed a clip, and it doesn't look like he had any of those.
By every villain and goon in any team up with Superman or the Justice League. And as it stands for Batman in DCEU, he simply performs at this level far more often than having in real life peak human stats at all times. There's a precedent for this when scaling the comic side of things as well, with Batman being able to dodge lasers or fight alongside his faster than light teammates.
So would that make Batman above faster than light, would that make him FTL if he's dodging lasers? So that wouldn't it make him that for somebody who's just human? That's crazy.
Only then to get tagged by random warehouse fodder goons whenever he goes back to Gotham.
But then I feel like it's just convenient for plot for the movie to make it interesting, right? I feel like it's only because of that. Other than that, he's gonna get hurt by a thug if he's like caught off guard or something like that. That's just my opinion, though.
In all likelihood, this would simply redefine what it means to be a normal human, maybe, in DC. And in all honesty, you have to be straight up. If they're gonna have Batman fighting alongside these heroes, are they just gonna have him do nothing? Is he just going to sit in the back, just watching everyone else fight? Why is he in the movie? So yes, Batman keeping up with all these heroes and super fast beings is plot convenience. But, and as versus debaters, we gotta see what those feats within the plot are. Even if the plot is doing crazy things to make them do these incredible speed feats that they probably wouldn't narratively, we still got to consider it when we're doing these topics. So we are considering these crazy feats. This is as well the case for the Marvel side of things, with the MCU having many quantifiable speed feats that would be impossible for any normal human in our world to be able to perceive. And yet we have examples like normal bystanders being able to watch the Avengers fight in underground cage matches in Shang-Chi. For instance, these normal humans are able to see these characters fighting at hundreds, if not thousands of times faster than any actual person would be able to perceive. These things are simply concessions of fiction and cinema that come up more times than not when looking so deeply into...
I'm here to spy on some ship shoppers so I can learn their secrets firsthand. Dairy-free, huh? Not to brag, but...
power scaling these types of universes. All that to say that just because Batman can get tagged every once in a while and by a fodder goon, quote-unquote, it does not mean any average Joe in our world would be able to perceive Batman fighting in all reality. And just because characters who are considered peak human outside of fiction could do the same, especially when considering the actual feats shown by each character. Sorry to anybody in the comments who thought they could just punch Batman or Spider-Man in the face and actually hurt them. Didn't mean to shatter your weird fantasy. Starting off with Spider-Man's attack power
Their fantasy.
durability, we have a number of avenues we could take. There's, of course, Tom Holland scaling to the super soldiers of the MCU, those being Captain America and the Winter Soldier. With Spidey being able to outright halt strikes from Winter Soldier dead in their tracks, this same character is then capable of overpowering Steve Rogers with the very same metal arms they had before. While the Spider-Man seen in Civil War is relatively inexperienced and was outmaneuvered by Captain America, he still was scaling to show he could at least be relative to these characters at this point. Captain America being someone who could toss a weaker form of Ultron through concrete pillars with energy around 54 million joules, which is enough to level a small building in terms of energy. This is, of course, a low end for Spider-Man, as later on, after apparently breaking his limits in his solo movie, he would be able to casually withstand strikes from one of Thanos' top soldiers, Cole Obsidian, someone who was later shown being able to cut and dent the Hulkbuster Mark II with his axe-like weapon, as well as with his bare hands. The Hulkbuster should at least scale above its prior model seen in Age of Ultron, with the Mark I Hulkbuster logically scaling above Iron Man's at the time base armor, as he felt like he would need the added power of the Hulkbuster to face the Hulk. Iron Man in the same film, while being much further away from the epicenter of the blast compared to Thor, takes a chunk of the explosion of Sokovia, calculated to be around almost 300 billion joules of energy, which is many times greater than what people consider averages for some forms of nuclear bombs. Famous examples being the old-school Little Boy bomb. Looking at some of these feats and scaling performed by the Tobey Maguire variant of Spidey, we have the Green Goblin's missiles, which were shown creating a massive, nearly bridge-engulfing explosion, which has been calculated as being even larger, but a similar amount of energy that Iron Man would have sustained in Age of Ultron. This is important seeing as about halfway through the events of Spider-Man 1, the Goblin persona concedes that Spider-Man is quote-unquote, all but invincible after his performance against the wall crawler in a burning building. All but being defined as nearly, borderline, and practically meaning it is likely that Goblin considers Tobey's Spider-Man to be practically invincible when compared to his vast arsenal of weaponry, including said missiles. This is even further backed up by a feat performed in Spider-Man 2, where Spider-Man essentially tanks being slammed into by a giant wall, which was being pulled by a gravity well, attracting all the metal in New York City, per statements from the movie's novel and the film itself. Deducing the force behind an object being pulled with such an insane mass would once again be around that 300 billion joules range, making the higher tier of Spider-Man consistently around this 300 trillion joules level of attack power and durability. For those confused about what the joule numbers mean, just imagine that they're like a weird form of power level of something. Bigger joule, bigger power. Going into more, honestly, unhinged territory, I could mention feats that would, if you squint maybe, scale Spider-Man to the Mad Titan Thanos. Things like the Iron Spider, a state which may very well amp Spider-Man to peak Iron Man's level based on statements, kicking around a suppressed and non-bloodlusted Thanos, or the fact that this goober was able to leave Doctor Strange cut up and bloodied. The same Doctor Strange who could contend with the full power of a Thanos, wielding the Power Stone, which is shown to have the power to destroy entire planets. Again, those showings are pretty unlikely to be applicable and have greater context surrounding them, more than likely, but of course they are worth mentioning regardless. You might even be able to go further if you think the Infinity Stones contain 1/5 of the power needed to wipe the universe away in just their normal states, even before they are all collected and their true powers unlocked. However, it is probably unlikely that they do. A good example of this is how just the Power Stone alone actually amplifies all the other stones when they're together, and so on. It's kind of like saying that Exodia in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has 1/5 the power needed to end the game without his other pieces. It just isn't really narratively in blood. The speed of Spider-Man is a little more straightforward as the bulk of the MCU scales to Captain Marvel's combat speed, with Carol Danvers shown reacting at speeds of around Mach 300 to Mach 1000 in Avengers Endgame, which he surveyed the planet Thanos was grilling out on. Spider-Man should at least scale to these speeds, seeing as even base Captain America, before getting Thor's hammer, was actually able to react to and tag a bloodlusted Thanos in Endgame, with Thanos having a brief back and forth with Captain Marvel in the same movie. Spider-Man can of course react to Captain America in Civil War, and so on. Parker himself can dodge the lightning-based attacks of Electro, with electricity traveling between 50% to 100% of the speed of light, depending on how you interpret it. The higher end of that range is maybe consistent with a showing from a weakened Thanos reacting to and blocking a photon blast from Captain Marvel, but again, this is a little wacky, especially with a logically stronger Thanos being unable to dodge cloud-to-ground lightning attacks from a Mjolnir-amped Captain America in the same movie. Moving on to Batman's attack power, the Caped Crusader was able to swing the Man of Steel through 4 concrete pillars one after another, which would require around 600 million joules. While this was performed in his Batman vs. Superman mech suit, it's actually been stated, to my surprise as well, that this armor only enhances Batman's durability and not his actual attack strength.
So, Batman has superhuman strength then. Okay.
The mech suit doesn't really make him stronger necessarily. We don't really show that, but it does. It's more armor in case Superman hits him.
Furthermore, while Batman was able to trade blows with Superman in his armor, he was only able to be relevant against him through the use of kryptonite, with even a mildly restored Superman dominating Batman throughout the fight. One could possibly scale Batman's base strength.
You know what's crazy? I've seen like the trailers for it, but I've never personally watched Superman vs. Batman. I gotta go sit there and watch it because that seems really freaking interesting. I've never seen it, but I'm going to now.
Far higher, seeing as he was able to take on numerous servants of Darkseid known as parademons, with these cannon fodder being able to seemingly slam and daze Wonder Woman a few times, who is someone who could contend with Doomsday, a creature who was stated to have planet-busting energy via the words of Zack Snyder. However, this scaling becomes inconsistent, seeing as Aquaman was pretty much able to solo about 5 of these things by himself, with Wonder Woman then performing about the same against Steppenwolf as Aquaman later on in the same movie. When granting the DC Extended Universe's Batman the equipment of his Snyder Cut counterpart, he does gain gauntlets shown capable of capturing and dissipating the energy of a prolonged heat vision blast from a mother box amped and bloodlusted Superman. To put this in perspective, Superman in Batman vs. Superman was able to battle the prior stated planetary Doomsday, and in both versions of Justice League, The Last Son of Krypton, was able to utterly dominate Steppenwolf. Someone who is stated to have survived a battle with the original Doomsday in an article found in Hollywood Magazine. The very same Doomsday who Zack Snyder remarked in a Man of Steel watch party broke the moon of Krypton into various fragmented chunks of rock, placing the durability of these gauntlets within, at least, capable of taking energy, capable of ripping moons apart. As insane as that sounds. These gauntlets are probably something that Batman made in preparation fighting these powerful Darkseid and alien opponents after seeing Wonder Woman's gauntlets do something similar. This would as well fall in line with Batman's external equipment, such as his Nightcrawler battle mech, which could tank multiple strikes from Steppenwolf. The Dark Knight's speed gets equally impressive when considering his scaling to characters like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Doomsday. See, Superman in Man of Steel was able to fly fast enough to escape the pull of something called the Phantom Drive, which is basically stated to act as a black hole numerous times. Of course, not even light can escape the attraction of these wormholes, yet
Like I said before in one of my previous videos, like, listen, if I am millions of times faster than light, what is a black hole going to do? Suck me up? You can't. I'm faster than light. Just because light can't escape it and I'm above it by millions of times, you think I'm going to get caught by it? That doesn't even make sense. Just because you will get caught by it, right? You know, the average Joe, average human, pretty much anything else. And light don't mean that I will. Not me. I'm talking about Superman. He won't get caught by it because, you know, he's millions of times faster than light. So why would he get caught by that? That doesn't even make sense. Of course, I expect him to, like, escape it.
a weaker variant of Superman can. We also know via guidebook statements that Superman's reaction speeds are in fact equal to his travel speeds, and yet Batman was able to react to and attack Superman even at points in their battle when Superman was likely nearing back to his full power. Batman can as well dodge both the physical strikes and heat vision of Doomsday, a character who as well battles Superman, now amped by the sun. Keep in mind that heat vision was stated to be beams of red light, with Batman as well reacting to and blocking these attacks in the Snyder Cut. While the Flash in the Snyder version of Justice League does note that physics start to act up when he approaches the speed of light, the feats shown do contradict this statement. And even so, Flash is a speedster connected to the Speed Force, so things such as the flow of time and the fundamentals of speed could and do apply to him little differently than someone like Batman. Now, with the stats of both characters presented, this fight starts to get really interesting. Go with the combatants' respective scaling, where it's honestly more so maybe movie consistent or fan consistent. We have Spider-Man with more durability and attack power than Batman, barring some insanely tanky equipment like his Snyder Cut gauntlets or the Nightcrawler.
I would say that Spider-Man is more tankier and more durable because he doesn't really need a suit to protect him from, you know, anything that Batman had to go through. Like, he wouldn't need a suit. So yeah, Spider-Man is more, you know, tankier.
Batman's actual body being far less durable than Spider-Man's, yet being far faster. I honestly can't see the fight going more ways than Batman simply never getting tagged via the speed gap, with Spider-Man only possibly being light speed with a generous high end as opposed to Batman consistently being in the FTL ranges, as absurd as that sounds. Once again, due to the plot, that means Batman is much faster than Spider-Man, once again, as absurd as that sounds, in terms of combat speed based on consistent speed feats and the necessity of him being fast in the DCEU's plot. From here, Batman was...
I mean, but you just showed like him with the armor, not without the armor. I don't know. I feel like it would do it justice if he didn't have the armor, though. Like, if he didn't have the armor and he was still doing that. But then Superman probably would have just splattered him all across the pavement because he's not durable. So, yeah. So, Batman is faster than light. We get that. He's, MFTL? And Spider-Man is FTL. But he's not as durable. So, who's stronger then? Because then that's going to kind of decide it.
Actually have all the time in the world to basically plan his next moves, or at least would be able to survive long enough to do so. That being taking down someone who is much stronger than himself. With Spider-Man not really having a hope to tag him, and even if he somehow got lucky, there just isn't a way of getting past those gauntlets. And from the matchup essentially boils down to Batman with a pseudo form of prep versus Spider-Man, seeing as the speed gap allows for Batman to take all the time he wants to really come up with any number of win conditions, unless you just kind of threw them arbitrarily into a white void of nothing and had them fight for eternity, in which Spider-Man probably wins eventually, unless Batman gets some Dragon Ball training amp after fighting forever and eventually wins. However, we are pretty certain that Spider-Man's stamina is actually higher than his, even then, and he wouldn't last nearly that long. He could, for example, ask Alfred, if you give him all his equipment, to airdrop his sonic cannon seen in Batman vs. Superman, with these weapons outputting 300 decibels according to a behind-the-scenes breakdown of Batman and Superman's battle.
At 500,000 hertz, Superman's hearing is 25 times more sensitive than Batman's. And with the volume turned up to 300 decibels, you can be sure that Superman finds the noise painful, mildly distracting, and extremely irritating.
Converting decibels to joules, you'd get about 4 quadrillion joules, or about 13,000 times the power level of Spider-Man's feats, and Batman would as well be trained in various arts of assassination. If any measure of his origin from the comics or other film version...
Oh, so it sounded like Batman's going to take the dub. Okay, so we get it. Batman takes the dub. All right, got it.
...are intact in the DCEU. And considering Batfleck's moral standing in Batman vs. Superman, for example, he'd likely have various poisons, at least on standby, maybe in his Batcave for Alfred to supply him mid-battle. That is headcanon, but if you do consider his assassination routes and all measures, that is something that is probable. And it is something that he'd probably leave at home when fighting a highly resilient character like Superman, so we wouldn't really be able to see him have it in those movies. One may bring up Spider-Man's patented extrasensory spider sense as an edge he may have in this battle. However, Batman has bypassed the superior senses of Superman in his movie, being able to sneak right behind him while he likely used a lead-lined gas grenade to obscure Superman's vision. Batman would still have to evade Superman's superhuman hearing, smell, and various other means of detection. This same Superman being someone who has to basically patrol the entire planet, relying on his senses to locate various crimes and disasters happening all around the globe. This all means that Batman should very well be able to sneak around someone with mildly impressive precog by comparison. However, I have to say that, and it's a big if, Spider-Man were to somehow land a hit on Batman on any area other than his gauntlets, he'd unironically probably one-shot him. Remember that the feat with which Batman's actual durability scales to is 44 times less impressive than Spider-Man's consistent attack power. And it's just that the weirdly orchestrated speed gap that is necessary for DC's movie's plot, as well as Batman's equipment, makes this slightly more difficult to talk about. But what if we just go completely off the rails? What if we scale each character to their utmost fanboy maximum? Not trying to be consistent with the movies, just giving them everything that we can. Feats, equipment, all of it. Who would win? We give Spider-Man the symbiote black suit, throwing the Iron Spider on top of that. We give Batman his suit of armor, Parademon blaster, Nightcrawler tank, and just wank both character scaling to their maximum. To do this, we could use Captain Marvel's galaxy-spanning travel speed, scale it to her reaction speed, then to Thanos' combat speed, and ignoring all contradictory feats and so on. Use the feat of the lizard somehow scratching Doctor Strange to scale Spider-Man to full-strength Power Stone and Thanos, granting him around planetary attack potency and durability, with Batman's ability to combat parademons, the same cannon fodder that apparently scales to Wonder Woman, a warrior who can fight the planet-busting Doomsday, placing Batman in a similar category. And we correlate the Whedon cut canon, Batman's ability to perceive and grapple hook the Flash, to his Snyder cut variant's full.
How did you catch the Flash? That's wow. You know how? Oh my God, that's actually, yeah. Batman wins, bro. What the fool?
Speed, that being a speedster so fast that he can travel backwards in time through speed alone.
And he caught him with a grappling hook. How do you catch the Flash with a grappling? Spider-Man wouldn't be able to catch the Flash with a grappling hook or like his spider webs. Oh God, yeah, it's different. Batman wins.
We would again have a not too dissimilar scenario where Batman is, in this case, literally infinitely faster than Spider-Man. But it is at least now in a similar tier of power.
At University of Phoenix, we have scholarships for everyone hard at work, no matter where you are.
As the wall crawler. From here, Batman can employ a combination of his power armor's weaknesses, detecting abilities, and his martial arts prowess to simply overwhelm Spider-Man through sheer skill. With Batman being a master martial artist to the point that he can, through alone, train a losing fighter on the spot into dominating his opponent, again, just through a single sentence. While Spider-Man has improved in several categories since this point, he was overall undone by a similar martial artist in the form of Captain America during Civil War. And he hasn't really had a chance to showcase any measure of his improvement in this area since his showing, and would, in all likelihood, be undone here as well. To sum it up, as weird as it sounds, Batman is simply too fast for Spider-Man and has various win conditions and skills that make the fight fairly, almost one-sided. However, Spider-Man is generally much stronger than Batman, and if you think he could manage to ever just land a hit to say Batman's face at any point in the fight before Batman could employ one of his plans, despite the speed gap present, he would destroy Batman in one punch. So, as I said before, throw them in a white void, Spider-Man would probably win. Let Batman run around, flee around, prepare himself, get lots of equipment going.
So basically, like I said before, you give him prep time, he's going to win. If you don't give him prep time, and you just say, hey, y'all two fight right now. But because of the speed gap, it's like, well, no, he can't get away. If they're in a white void, you're just there. There's no place for you to hide. You can't hide nowhere. So it's like you're going to have to fight him. And if Spider-Man does get that hit on him, it's a wrap. Okay.
He'd probably win. If they were in the same movie, maybe Batman wouldn't be blitzing around Spider-Man and they'd have Spider-Man be stronger or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more narratively consistent. So depending on how you think Batman would need to prepare or handle Spider-Man, and depending on whether we throw them in that void, the winner's up to your interpretation. But I hope you liked what I had to say on it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. And till next time.
I most definitely enjoyed this video. So I came in unsure to what I was gonna get, but okay, so classic Seth, it's more like, well, you guys gotta pick the winner. I'm just gonna say my opinion on it, but you know, due to certain circumstances, if Batman had prep time, he's gonna win because he's faster, he has all this equipment, yada yada yada. If he don't got prep time and Spider-Man manages to hit him, well, it's wraps. It's Spider-Man's game. So, it's really up to you to decide. I'm kind of torn. It's like, I don't know who would I pick. I don't, so by narrative, well, if they're in the same universe, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, well, to me, when you think of Batman, you think of Spider-Man, you're like, how is Batman even faster than Spider-Man? It's like, well, it just proved, he just broke it down. He said, hey, this is what it is, and that's how it is, you know, based off, this is not the comics, we're using movies. Based off the movies, that's what it's looking like. So, yeah, bro, let me know down below what you guys think. If you made it this far to the video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos. We will soon, and we're out here, y'all. Peace.